Good morning. Let me try that again. Good morning, Morning Star. My name is Stuart Davenport. I'm your former executive pastor and director of connections, but I'll always be your... Thank you. If you don't know me, you are in for a ride, as always. Yes, I'm your former director of connections and executive pastor here at a dusty little church called Morning Star that sits on a dusty little hill. I'm sure you all have been wondering what I've been up to since I've stepped down from my position here. I've been up, and I've been down. I've been bad, and I've been good. But maybe it would be best understood if I sang, I guess you wonder where I've been. I searched to find the love within. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. My friends wonder what is wrong with me. Well, I'm in a daze for your love, you see. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. I'm enjoying my time being a civilian again. My honey-do list is long and complicated. My doctor's visits are plenty, and my walking is not enough. My volunteering continues, and I still have to scrap to find time for myself. In preparation for today, I did a few things, one of them being that I went through the entire book of Revelation, and I took out all the reference to chapter and verse. Okay, and some of you might be asking, how did we get chapter and verse in the Bible anyway? I'm glad you asked. The chapters that we have were implemented by a gentleman by the name of Stephen Langton, and an English theologian and later Archbishop of Canterbury in the 1200s. So in the 1200s, we get chapter. And the verse division we see today were introduced in the mid-16th century. That's the mid-1500s for those of you who are counting. By Robert Estienne, a Parisian printer. He published a Greek and Latin Bible, New Testament, with verses within each chapter. Knowing that, this is why I took out chapter and verse, so I could read it like it was meant to be read. Because we all know now, through Amy's teaching, that it is a letter to 7 churches, and so it's supposed to be read like a letter. I'm supposed to read it like I'm hungry to hear from John. Like I have hungry eyes and a hungry mind and a hungry soul, and so I've longed to hear from John, and I'm supposed to read it like a letter. It'll take you about an hour to read it that way. It's actually faster than if you read it by chapter and verse. The next thing I did to prepare was to take a look at the context in which Revelation was written. What is going on in the world at the time? And I do this because I have a tendency to believe, this is my personal theology, I have a tendency to believe that we have a tendency to look at the kingdom of Judea, the city of Jerusalem, as far off and not connected to the rest of the world. And that is furthest from the truth. It is connected to the world. It reacts to the world. It pays attention to what's going on into the world. So what's going on in the world at this time? So taking into account that one thought is that Revelation was written between the years 68 and 69 CE and or around 96 CE. So in the year 70, the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem has deeply affected Jewish society. In the year 79, Mount Vesuvius erupts. In the year 80, the Colosseum in Rome is completed with an inauguration of games for 100 days. In the year 81, Domitian becomes emperor and rules until the year 96. In the years 75 through 88, Emperor Zhang of the Han Dynasty as Emperor of China. The Silk Road continues to grow and prosperity flows to the eastern provinces. In India, the Kushan Empire rises, the Silk Road expands, and allows for Buddhism to flourish, spread. This is also a high time of art and culture in India. In Mesoamerica, the Teotihuacan civilization grows in central Mexico. In South America, the Nazca and the Moche cultures developed more complex societies. The reason why I do this exercise of history anytime that I take a deep dive, a very deep dive into the word, is I want to know the context in which the word is written, the context of people's lives as they lived them at that time. Remember that I told you almost 4 months ago, the last time that I preached, the letters from the disciple Paul were written to be consumed in the immediacy of his time, not 2,000 years later. Paul did not write to us or for us today. You got that? He's writing in the immediacy for those people of that time because he thought Jesus was going to come back in his lifetime. He's not writing for you, Steve, today. And that is crucial to understand the book of Revelation, to take the step to understand the context in which it is written. I have a joke for y'all. What do you call a book club that has been meeting for 37 years, 38 years? Church. Church. I have a few friends, one that I have who is a former church planner. No, it's not that guy, it's another guy. He came to Las Cruces with his wife from California, and they came to plant a church here in Las Cruces like a long time ago. And I asked him about his thoughts on Revelation. Mind you, this friend of mine is way more conservative theologically, politically, and socially than I am. He was very surprised at my question. I mean, he was baffled, actually. He actually tried to get out of answering it, and I pressed him. And he prefaced his answer with and in caution. He told me that he did not teach and or preach from Revelation because, in his words, John had to be absolutely crazy when he wrote this book. He's old and in prison, has dementia or some senility. He's probably very hungry for food. He could possibly be a bit hangry. He has been given something to drink. Could he be drunk? Or, and these are my friend's words, is he high on some type of drug akin to peyote or mushrooms or something? Or maybe he has been introduced to something from the Silk Road, opium. The point being that, according to my friend, John is under some type of influence to have written something very crazy that we call Revelation. My thought is that, have you ever had that dream where you've woken up the next morning tired from sleeping? That crazy dream that just kept going on and on and on and on, and Steve Georgie keeps showing up in a shorts and a bow tie, and you're just like wondering, like, why is Steve Georgie here at my family Thanksgiving thing, and why am I dreaming about Thanksgiving, and it's almost summer, and you're just like, that's what I think that Revelation is to John. It's like this crazy dream that he woke up and he just wrote it all down. What do you call a book club that has been meeting for 37 years? As folks who come to church to listen to folks preach, women and men, we should have paid attention to where the word comes from. Where it comes from in the Bible. Do we understand that this book is rooted in the Old Testament books of Genesis, Exodus, Daniel, Zechariah, Isaiah, to name a few? And in the New Testament of books of like 1 Peter and 1 Corinthians, other books not only influenced, but really shaped the meaning of Revelation. So you kind of have to go, it's kind of like one of those stories that you're reading it, and then you got to go back and read Daniel. And then you're reading it, and you got to go back and read Zechariah. And you're reading it, and you're, oh, I got to jump to 1 Peter. And then you got to read all that to read and to understand it's not an easy story just to take at face value. And just to let you all know, you kind of have to do that with every single book in the Bible. If you ever wonder what it is that's coming out of Jesus' mouth, read Deuteronomy, read Genesis, read Exodus, read Leviticus. If we don't understand the imagery of any of the books I just mentioned, then how are we to understand the meaning here in Revelation? Speaking of imagery, Armageddon is not an event. It's a place. It's a valley. And the number 666 is not 666. To understand this, we must understand the numerology of Judaism and of Hebrew. The number 6 refers to the creation stories in Genesis and the literary device that in the book that it took 6 days to create all of creation. 6 equals creation. 666 is to say creation, creation, creation 3 times. That's what it means. Are you understanding? Like, we are not taking it into account of reading Revelation through the eyes of the people who wrote Revelation. We have a tendency to look and read the Bible from several perspectives. One is, and this is going to sting a little, that we have a tendency to participate in church and make decisions about church from the perspective of being in a high chair. How many of us actually read the Bible every single day? When I was a child, I spoke like a child, thought like a child, reasoned like a child. And the verse goes on to say, when I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. Have we done that? Just asking. It's just a question. It's just a rhetorical one. Just to let you guys know, if you want to get out of the high chair, there's plenty of seats up here in the front that are open. Some of you all are questioning why Amy even lets me preach right now. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. One job, Guillermo. One job. One job. But we can get Phil Wickham in every single week. Another perspective is that we read the scriptures with 19th century eyes and 16th century questions. Let me say that again. We read the scriptures with 19th century eyes and 16th century questions. It is time that we read scripture with first century eyes and 21st century questions. This is a quote from a gentleman by the name of N.T. Wright. Tom Wright, as he's known, as he writes under, advocates understanding Jesus in the first century Jewish context. Remember that he was Jewish, and he did not come to bring us Christianity. He came to remind us of the new law. He stresses that Jesus, this is Mr. Wright, stresses that Jesus' mission was about the inauguration of God's kingdom on earth, God's kingdom on earth. Challenges the traditional Protestant readings of Paul. Oh my gosh, think of that. That Paul's writings should be read with a reinterpretation about law, grace, and justification, that us paying more attention to the Jewish background. So he's saying that we should read it about the law, the grace, and justification through Jewish eyes, through Paul's eyes, and we are to pay attention to the Jewish background. I almost read this as the U.S. paying more attention to the Jewish background. What a novel idea. Strongly critiques the idea of heaven as going somewhere else after death. He critiques this idea, arguing instead that the resurrection and the new creation are central to Christian hope. You all remember the resurrection, don't you? It's where you say amen. especially on this. What Sunday of Easter is it? Anybody? Bueller? 6th. It is the 6th Sunday of Easter. Actually, since we are Easter people, since we are to be resurrection people, it is the 104,615th Sunday of Easter. That's how many Sundays it's been since the resurrection, according to ChatGPT. For we are Easter people, are we not? We are to celebrate Easter every Sunday. Celebrate resurrection every Sunday. And yet, how many of us practice resurrection? Any of you all talk to somebody you need to talk to? Buried the hatchet lately? Forgiven someone who you need to forgive for no one else other than just you? That wasn't just for you all. That was for me too. We have a tendency to look at Revelation really simply. Something kind of like this. We look at Revelation like there's only two things to worry about. Either you're well or you're sick. If you're well, there's nothing to worry about. But if you're sick, well, there are two things to worry about. Either you get well or you will die. And if you get well, there's nothing to worry about. But if you die, there are only two things to worry about. Either you'll go to heaven or you'll go to hell. And if you go to heaven, well, there's nothing to worry about. But if you go to hell, there's two things to worry about. Original or extra crispy. You guys have forgotten how I preach, don't you? Revelation chapter 21, verses 1 through 6. And then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them. They will be his peoples, and God himself will be there with them and be their God." We are made in the image of God, remember? God looks like Guillermo. God looks like Sandy. God looks like Sue. God looks like you. That rhymed. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away. And the one who is seated on the throne said, "See, I am making all things new." Also, he said, "Write this, for these words are trustworthy and true." And then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give water as a gift, and from the spring of water of life." And then it goes on to say, "Those who conquer," and I don't know why he chose that word, "will inherit these things, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But as for the cowardly, the faithless, the polluted, the murderers, the sexually immoral, the sorcerers, the idolaters, and all the liars, they will place will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death." Just to let you know, verse 8 is just a list of sin management. You can replace those with any other sin that it is that you are committing, have committed, will commit, will not commit, working on. We could replace this list with one of our very own. What happens if what John is describing was taking place in our own hearts? The whole book of Revelation. What happens if that whole thing is taking place in our hearts and in our minds and in our soul? What happens? That this new Jerusalem that he speaks of is inside each of us. Our hearts. And all these trials and tribulations that he's speaking of, and that we make so much hay out of By the way, making hay is us making much ado about nothing. Are the things that we are to practice resurrection amongst ourselves. And if we don't, instead of making heaven or earth, we are making hell on earth. Can you feel the fire? Can you taste the sulfur? Has anybody ever smelt and or tasted sulfur? I've tasted a lot. Literally and figuratively. Are we cowards? Or are we working hard, working really hard to be faithful and to follow Jesus? Jesus. Jesus. What do you call a book club that's been meeting for 37 years? Are we going to meet here Easter Sunday after Easter Sunday, reading the Bible with 16th century eyes and 19th century questions? Or are we going to stretch and pull and push ourselves to read the Bible with first century eyes and 21st century questions? Are we going to continue to skim, or are we going to go deep, really deep? Not just in the Word, but in faith with our Redeemer, Jesus. Deeper with each other and the community we live in, Remembering that we are all made in the image of God. As I said before, God looks like you and you and you and you. And you and you and you and you. Practicing resurrection wherever we go. Putting away shopping carts as we go. Building a new Jerusalem in our hearts with love. And then giving it all away. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Just let you know, man, I've been dying to do that in a sermon for so long. This is my prayer. This is my prayer for y'all, and this is my prayer for me. In the name of the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sustainer. Amen.